Great to see you all. Happy Friday. This is our first ever Capri AI success call live. And it is going to be recorded. You will have access to it. We're going to put them both on the YouTube channel and we're going to put them in the Facebook page as well. This is super exciting. It's our first one. We already got 11 people. So I can't wait to walk through everything today. And of course, any questions we will get to at the end. So the way that we're going to run this today is I'm going to walk through the snapshot, which all of you by now should have access to it. And if not, I'm going to just put it one more time in the Zoom chat. Use that GPT-3 page to get our snapshot and yeah, and I'll also have another call recording of me walking through this, but it won't be like an interactive one like this. So once you do download that, you will get the snapshot imported, and that's what we're going to walk through today for the first part of this video. We're going to walk through the snapshot, all the workflows, all the custom values, the tags, how they all work, all that good stuff. And then at the end, if there are any questions that I was not able to cover, then we will go in order. We'll have you put them in the chat, and we'll go through them in order based off of, when they come in the chat. So that being said, let's go ahead and dive on it. So, all right. So the first thing I'm actually going to start with is going to be our main portal. So if you haven't seen this yet, this is our main portal. You log in with any email that you want. And I'm going to sign on my Capri account. And from here, you'll get taken to your Capri AI, or I'm sorry, your Go High Level Marketplace dropdown. Now, sometimes it does happen where you will end up in a kind of a loop, a login loop, where it will ask you to still log in with High Level, and then you'll go click on that link, you'll be logged in on High Level, and then you'll come back and it just won't work. What you have to do, that is specifically an issue with Go High Level's OAuth login process. What you have to do is you have to actually log all the way out of your account. So you have to actually come in here, sign all the way out, sign back into the root app.gohighlevel.com URL. You can't log into your white label domain or anything like that. It's got to be app.gohighlevel. And then come back here and just go back one and start from the beginning. And when you do that, it should refresh your browser session data for High Level's OAuth system. And then you should see a link that looks very similar to this. So once you get to this page, you'll choose any account that you want. I'm going to choose our DAS Startup Recruiting account. This is just one that we use sometimes. And the first place you're going to come is going to be your fallbacks page. But if you haven't filled out any of your settings, you're going to get taken to your settings page first. Now, right now, the only CRM that we do integrate with is High Level. We are planning on integrating more CRMs in the future and other communication platforms and stuff like that. So as you log in, you'll come back here and this will be a little bit different view, but none of your settings are going to get lost. We'll make sure we save everything as well. So basically what these settings means is for the calendar, this will be a drop down of the calendars that you have connected to that Go High Level account that you connected. For the objective, you can either choose book appointment, opportunity status, or no objective. This doesn't really have much of an impact right now other than on the emulator. And we'll go over what that looks like in just a minute. And then for the connect bot win, if you want to use GPT-3, if you want to use GPT-3 or ChatGPT, you have to have this set to control with CRM workflows. So if you have it set to anything else, go and you want to use ChatGPT, go ahead and change it to control with CRM workflows. And then for the follow-up stale leads, don't worry about this. This is just, you can do this with workflows. This is already built into the snapshot. And we'll go over how that works. So once you have those saved, you can hit submit and it'll save those initial settings. And then on the AI side of things, this is where you'll connect all of your GPT-3. Now I'm going to go through this completely assuming that everybody here wants to use ChatGPT or GPT-3 as their AI provider, not Dialogflow. If you still want to use Dialogflow, we still support it. I don't know why you would want to at this point, but if you want to, you absolutely can. And I'll do maybe another call next week or something like that that goes over how to use Dialogflow specifically. But for now, we're going to assume everybody wants to use OpenAI. So if you click on or hover over here, on the little OpenAI API key tooltip and click on that. It will take you to where you need to go to get this OpenAI key. And one very important thing that I'm going to go ahead and mention right now, but I'm also going to mention it 3 or 4 more times throughout this call, probably because it is the number one issue, is that if you put your API key in and you're not able to use the emulator, you need to go to billing and you need to go to payment methods. If you do not have a credit card on file here, it doesn't matter if you have free trial credits left or not, our system won't work. We just use too many tokens per second for you to be on the free trial and not have a credit card attached. So make sure you have a credit card attached at this stage. It'll save you a headache later on. On the API key, on the API key side of things, this is not the key. I had somebody actually copy just this. This is just a preview. Once you create the key and then you close out of it, you will never see it again. So you need to make sure if you need a new key, you just create a new key or copy the API key when you create it somewhere safe that you can always access it later on. So that's the first step. And then from here, we're going to create the prompt. And I'm actually going to walk through a little bit of how this prompt needs to be designed today. And the model type is ChatGPT, the temperature 0.08, max output length 180. These can all just be, you can copy this exactly. And then the knowledge-based spreadsheet URL, we'll come back to this as well. And these other settings will go over what these mean as well. So up to this point, the only thing we need to do for it to actually work in the emulator is design the prompt. Now, prompt design, as I'm sure you're all aware, is, one of the biggest fields, hottest things right now. Everybody wants to know about designing prompts and how you can have it do this, that, or the other. So take a good look at my prompt right now. I'm not shy of sharing it because it will help you in, using Capri, and that's ultimately what I want. So basically, every prompt for this case follows a pretty specific structure. And it's kind of crazy if you think about it. The way that ChatGPT and GPT-3 and GPT-4, the way that they're trained, especially the core model before they started adding in all the conversation transcripts, is trained on articles, right? It's trained on Wikipedia, it's trained on Reddit, Substack, or whatever other platforms out there that it's allowed to access. It's trained on an article structure. So there's like a title of the article, there's a brief description, and then there's the actual article content. That's like the vast majority of the conversation data that's on the internet that people, or the training data that these models learned on. And then we introduced probably, 10% worth of conversation data. But conversation is repetitive enough. Luckily, when it comes to the words that we use, we don't actually use that large of a library of words compared to authors that write stories and stuff like that in articles. When you need to get a lot more information out there with no back and forth capability, you have to put more words. And so that's why articles were kind of the core thing that these models are taught on. And then when they had hundreds of millions of conversation records, they added those in, and it basically changed the way that the model predicted the outcome. So like GPT-3 and GPT-2, they were really biased towards creating article outputs, right? And so that's why most people use them for like ad creatives and blog writing and content creation and stuff like that. We needed something like ChatGPT to come to reality for us to get a conversational use case out of it. And so knowing that, you are creating a story that is a combination of an article, but also instructions, right? And so if you follow that structure, your assistant will follow your instructions a lot more because it's more accustomed to seeing that. So let's walk through what that structure needs to look like. So it's always going to start with your assistant name, right? And so for me, I named it Eleanor, the friendly assistant for DAS, Developers as a Service. And for those of you who don't know, DAS is our parent company. It's our overall software development company that actually built Capri. It built the Gmail app, if you guys use that, and it's built a ton of other stuff. And so that's who this bot represents. So Eleanor represents DAS. And no matter what your company is, it doesn't matter. You're always going to tell the story of who this assistant is and who they work for. And so if you want to give the assistant more of a personality, like a background, which I've seen people do, and it's super cool, this is where you would put it. This is the part of the story that you would put it. And that matters because if you try to put it later down in the prompt, it's actually going to try to reference that incorrectly. Like as part of its answers, it's going to think that you want it to talk about itself as part of its answers. So with this structure, you're going to say, okay, this is who you are, the assistant, and these are things about you, right? Like you're from the South, so you use words like y'all. That was what one person wanted to do. Or, you are an expat living in another country from Canada. Like somebody really gave a personality to this one assistant because they were representing realtors or travel assistants or something that specifically help people move to a second country for their residence, like expats. And so they gave the personality a little bit. It was just a couple sentences, but it was smart. I didn't think of it. So that's the first part of the story. Who's the assistant? Then who does the assistant work for? So you tell it, okay, you work for DAS. DAS is a resource group for non-technical entrepreneurs to find the technical resources they need to grow their startup from design all the way to your first funding round. We're able to help with things like, right? And so let's say, and we're not talking about DAS. Let's say we're talking about Beaufort Chiropractic, which Beaufort is a city near where I live. So you are Eleanor, the friendly assistant for Beaufort Chiropractic. Beaufort Chiropractic is the leading chiropractic office in North Georgia, helping patients get out of pain for X amount of years. You just give all the benefits and the services that the business offers at that point. So that's where you start there. So that's what this whole section is here, is me just talking about what exactly DAS is, what we do, who we help, all that kind of stuff. Now, the next part of the story is what do you do for that company? So this is where you tell the assistant what their goal and what their job is as the assistant for that business. And so Eleanor's job, your job, is to answer any question the contact may have about DAS and try to schedule an appointment for the contact to meet with a member of our team. So that way, the assistant knows that this is my goal. And this is an important part if you are trying to set appointments and you want to use the booking functionality. This needs to be in your prompt. You need to give some kind of instructional guidance in the initial prompt around, you do need to actually be booking an appointment. And then I give a little bit of information about the initial appointment. So the initial meeting is totally free, and it's where the contact will discuss more details about what they're looking for help with and how our team can help them get the resources they need. Scheduling the contact is your primary goal. And if the contact seems interested, you should try to coordinate a day and time with a meeting. So what this I found helped with a lot in the booking process is if, the contact seemed interested before I put this in there, the assistant would ask, like, tell me more about your project. What do you want to talk about with our team? Like, what kind of services are you interested in? What kind of technical resources are you looking for? It was trying to do more of what I want my support, what I want my sales team to do, right? Like I want the people that are going to be taking that initial call, I want them to be asking those questions. All I want Eleanor to do is get them to the point of being on a call with that team member, right? And so adding this in made it so that instead of focusing more so on what the project is and what kind of resources are needed, it focused more so on her task, which is setting an appointment with our team. So that's just a little tidbit that I found in there. So the next part is rules. And this is always going to be the same across any AI prompt that you make for this use case. Anyway, sorry, my video keeps going out for some reason. These are the rules that the AI should follow when answering questions and asking questions. And I'm actually going to just put this in the chat really quick because this is literally the same thing. And actually, sorry, the only thing that's not the same is this. So I'm going to go up to this point. So if the contact asks a question that you're not able to answer truthfully. Okay, so you guys can all copy that from the Zoom chat. And again, I'll put that in the description in the YouTube recording. I'll have to figure out how to do that. But basically, if the contact asks a question that you're not able to answer, just say this. Do not answer any questions you were not directly asked by the contact. You should answer questions as the contact asks them, but also continue to try and schedule a contact for an appointment if they haven't already scheduled one. So this was another important point for me to make, to say, hey, don't just continue to go on this rabbit hole. Like your goal is to book an appointment, and that's what you should be focused on. And then do not answer questions that are not relevant to the services we provide. This keeps it on the guide rails, right? So it's like we are a software development company. And so if it were to ask about like Kubernetes or AWS Amplify or like all these different, software development tools and resources, it's going to answer because it knows that Eleanor works for a software company, knows that she would know about that kind of stuff. It's fine. But if it starts asking me about chiropractic, somebody starts asking me about, something that we don't know about and we don't service with, it's going to say, I'm not entirely sure about that. Is there anything I can help you with in relation to our services? And then do not repeat the same question several times in a row. She only asks the question one time concurrently. There you go. So this is like, once you put all this into place and you save this prompt with these settings, that's all of the required fields. That's all the things you need. And from there, that should actually be enough for you to go, after you save that, to go to the emulator and click chat. I choose Chat GPT. You can try with DaVinci if you want. And just be like, hey, what do you guys do? The emulator is kind of slow. So our goal is to help non-technical entrepreneurs find technical resource they need to build. What can I assist you with? So, and this is kind of just following, the prompt that I gave it, right? This is when somebody asks, what do I do? This is kind of along the lines of how it should answer. And so, do you think you could help me build an app? Cost. So in this case, I've trained it to get the email from the person. So do you know how much it might cost? So we'll put all that together on our first intro call together. So this isn't too bad. This is doing fairly well. And so from here, this is kind of your baseline to determine what other information should I give it. So in this case, I want to give it, more FAQs that it can pull from. And so what I did was, that's what this spreadsheet does. So what this spreadsheet does is allow you to give questions and answers about the business that you're representing with this AI. And so essentially, these should not be super exhaustive. You should not be trying to get the bot to learn how to talk from these. These are literally facts. Like, these are just questions and answers. They don't need to have a ton of tonality around them. They just need to have factual data that the AI can pull from and can use to answer questions. So that's a very important point to put because of the priority in which the AI uses your data to answer questions. So in this spreadsheet, you'll put all of the questions and answers, which I built this spreadsheet a while ago before we actually had the emulator training. So mine has more tonality around it, I guess. But if I were to do this whole thing again, I would do it with just very straightforward answers like this. Like, what's your name? I don't have a name exactly. Most people just call me assistant. How do most projects work? So even these kinds of things, these aren't necessarily factual. These were things that I built into here before we had the ability to save it in the emulator. And I'm going to show you what that looks like next. But let's say more factual things like, what is DAS? So this is okay. This is a factual question and answer. Where are you located? That's a factual question and answer. What is your rate or hourly rate? This is kind of factual. If I gave an actual answer instead of, it kind of depends on what you need help with. If we had like a fixed hourly rate for all of our services, I would just put the factual hourly rate here. It just depends on what you want your customers to know. Will I get support after the project ends? So this is like, do you have experience with React, MongoDB? And actually, this even can become one question. Again, I built this a while ago. But so these two can actually become one question. So like, do you guys have experience with React? What about MongoDB or Flutter? So like, we can put all of those into one question, because at the end of the day, they're just asking us if we have experience with particular stacks, and in all reality, it's always going to be the same answer for us. It's like, hey, we can find developers for whatever you want us to do. So as long as you speak English, that's basically all we need. Like, what is your email? That's a very specific. That's a very specific like FAQ, right? There's not a lot of like intuition required for answering these, right? So this is what the spreadsheet is for. Now, the other way that you can train this, and you want to put that there, and you want to make sure that if you have more than 30 rows in your spreadsheet, we basically load the full spreadsheet every single time we get a question if you give us the spreadsheet to load. And so if you load it all at once, beyond 30 rows, it kind of becomes a little too much for your agent. So we built an extension where you can basically, and Seth, if you don't mind just linking the YouTube video for the extension, but you can basically, if you click on your little knowledge tab down here, when you sign up for the extension, you'll get a page that looks like this. And then all of these spreadsheets are ones that I have loaded. And this is across the agency. But if you want to load a spreadsheet, you put it in here and it adds it to our database. And we have a machine learning database that basically makes it so instead of using all of your sheet at once, we only use what we need. So we take a much smaller representation of your data and put it in. So it makes it you can get a lot more data into your prompt and not hit rate limits and stuff like that. So this extension, if you want to know more about it, all you got to do is just sign in at systems.capriai.us, and then you can just go on the little knowledge button down here. And if you haven't purchased it yet, there will be a little learn more button to take you to a video to learn more about it. And then once you do purchase, there's a how-to video right here that shows exactly how to do all of this. And then we have a GitHub repo here that also has everything. And I'll make sure I put that in there in case you guys want it. But this extension just won't work if you don't have the thing purchased, because you need the Capri token. And if you have the enterprise plan, then you already have access to this. Congratulations. All you got to do is go get your token, watch the how-to, and because every enterprise member gets this included. So that's what the spreadsheet does. That's how it's used. And those are so far 2 of the 3 knowledge sources that we have available for the AI to learn from, is your prompt and your spreadsheet. All right. The third place is actually the emulator itself. So if we go here to the emulator and I click on ChatGPT, and just say, hey, how much you guys charge for a mobile app? This doesn't really make a lot of sense, but I want to see how it's going to handle it. So let's see. The total cost for your mobile app will really come down to total hours needed. All that together. Would you like me to schedule a call? So this is pretty good. Sure. And so I actually have this one connected to the calendar. And I was hoping it wasn't going to offer to schedule so I could correct it for you guys, and you'll see. So I might just restart and ask a different question. So yeah, I didn't want it to do that. I wanted it to actually access the calendar. So in this case, what I want to say is, perfect. What day works best for you? So this is what I wanted it to say, right? I wanted to try to go down that booking path. So I'm going to click update here. And when I click update, it saves it right there. And then I'm going to go ahead and just save that. And now, in case you can't see, it says example saved successfully. You'll need to refresh the page to see the new example on the list. So now, because I saved that, if I come here, choose my agent again, you can see I actually have the session saved that I wanted to learn from. So that would be the last message for that one that I saved. But this is the third source of knowledge that your AI will learn from. So any conversations that are happening in this DAS startup Go High Level sub account, it will use the prompt that I give it. It'll use the spreadsheet that I give it, but then it'll also, over time, as you train it and give it more examples to learn from, it will learn from these sessions in here as well. And you can always go in here and delete any of them if you want to teach it to answer differently. But yeah, so those are the three main places that your AI learns from. And the order of importance is prompt first. So it will always listen to the prompt more than the spreadsheet. And then it's the spreadsheet. So it'll use the spreadsheet over the sessions. And then the sessions are the last thing that it learns from. And we usually can only load about 1 to 2 sessions per example anyway. So you can give it thousands. There's really no limit on the number of sessions that you can give it to learn from, but it'll only pull, when it needs it, it'll pull the most relevant ones. So the most important thing here is to make sure your sessions are not contradicting your prompt and they're not contradicting your spreadsheet. It all needs to be congruent. They all need to tell the same story. They all need to follow the same rules. They all just need to kind of work together. And when you have all three of them working together, that's when you end up getting a really, really good, powerful bot that can really have a personality, can have a tone, can have all different kinds of stuff that it can do, and just be really good. And so now if I say, hey, I want to build overlap, sounds great. We'd be happy to, I don't know why I said sales great. First step, what's the best email? So I'm going to actually say, great. Okay, works best for you. And so that's when I say don't contradict yourself. In my spreadsheet, I have a lot of I have some examples where it's asking for the email. And so it thinks that that's the main priority that it should be following is getting the email from the contact. But in reality, it needs to be asking for what day works best. And so I have some time. Actually, let me just say anytime next week. And to be honest, I don't know if I actually connected the calendar to this one. So sure thing. How about Tuesday at 2 p.m. EST? So it should have connected to my calendar to find out if that's available. Yeah, so it's connected to my calendar. That was a little fast though, so I got to make sure it didn't just make that up. But overall, the point is to train it to ask for the day. How do I get started with you guys? And as you can see, it's still listening to the spreadsheet and saying what's the best email for us to send some information over. So I'm going to change that and say what day works best for you, and save that. So yeah, those are the three basic knowledge sources, and you kind of just have to play with your prompt to get it to follow rules of the way that I injected into the prompt a little bit to say these kinds of things like, if the contact shows that they're interested, you should ask them what day works best or something like that. I think I might not have put that one into this part, but putting that will have more of an impact on what questions your AI asks than just doing more and more sessions to give it, give it reason to ask what day works best. So, because it's the lowest priority, the sessions are always going to be the lowest priority. So that's the emulator. That's the spreadsheet. So what these other things mean. So temperature is basically just how creative your AI is. It basically means, how far is it going to deviate from the prompt? How much is it going to, come up with stuff on its own, all that kind of stuff. Max output length. This is basically how many tokens the actual output can be. And it, usually needs to just stay around 180 to 200 for conversational stuff. If you need to have it longer, you can always increase it. This can be up to like 800 and it shouldn't be too long. The average request is about 2,000 tokens, 2,000 to 2,500 tokens. And so you can only do 4,000 for a completion. So you got to just leave yourself about 1,500 for both the current conversation and what the AI needs to say. So yeah, just keep those numbers in mind. Frequency penalty. This is basically how often it will repeat certain topics. So like actual points of discussion versus presence penalty is focused on how often it'll use the same words. So it's just kind of semantic versus syntactical difference in how it spreads out what its responses are. But yeah. And then for the handoff prompt, what this is essentially whenever you're ready for a human to come in and take over the conversation, that's what you put here in the handoff prompt. And the handoff doesn't actually do anything in the emulator. So this is more so for you to store it on your side. But when we go over the workflow settings and everything in just a second, you'll see where you would actually put that and how you would actually use that. And then the fallback mode, this is basically, it's set to silent by default when the AI doesn't know what to say. If it gets confused, then our system detects that and then adds the fallback reach tag. And it won't say anything, but you can change it to where it will say what it actually said that is determined as a fallback, and it will also add the tag. And so an example of like a fallback is like this, for example. All I said was LOL what, because I mean, it doesn't make a lot of sense. And what the AI actually responded with was, sorry, I don't think I'm the best person to answer that for you. Can you tell me more about what kind of project you're interested in? Our system knew that that was a fallback because the AI wasn't very confident. It didn't know what to say. So we added the fallback reach tag. And we're always going to do that. Like anytime this happens, so this is for DAS, but there's a lot of them that happen for like Capri as well. I'll show you. So like these are all messages through our actual Capri AI support page. And you notice like, I'm sorry for any confusion. I'm a virtual assistant, not able to transfer you to a human representative. However, so like this is, a fallback. This is a good fallback. I'm not entirely sure what you're referring to. I'm not entirely sure about that. I'm sorry. I don't have access to any external links. I'm not entirely sure what you mean by that. So these are all fallbacks. And you can come back here and you can review what fallbacks are happening. And if you ever want to see what that actual conversation is, you can click on it and it will take you to the exact page that conversation is happening in. But yeah, so that's what a fallback is. And you can have it either actually send this message or not send this message. And either way, it's going to add that tag. That's fallbacks. Now handoffs are a little different, and that's where we're going to get into our template account. So our template account here, this is the snapshot that comes from that link that I sent in the chat earlier. And basically, we have two folders here, and I wanted to try to make this as encompassing as I possibly could for every single use case, but I'm realizing it might confuse some people, so that's why we're doing these success calls. So let's go down the assumption that you're running traditional Facebook lead ads and you're getting their SMS number and you're texting them, and that's how you're doing your nurture, since that seems to be one of the most popular use cases. So in this snapshot, what we're basically assuming you're doing is adding them to the paid SMS opt-in. If you want to start this whole flow, get them all kicked off, somehow or another, they need to get added to this paid SMS opt-in workflow. And the reason that is because in this workflow, the first step is to add the tags paid and SMS. And then we're going to send the first SMS, which is, this is an old one, but a really reliable outreach message. Hey, this is assistant name from business name. I just got a request on our, Facebook page from Quentin. Is this Quentin? Like that's what the second message is this Quentin? So these two messages back to back, a couple seconds from each other, basically have always gotten a really high response rate. From there, when they reply, they are now going to be in this workflow. So customer replied paid ongoing combo. So whether they initiated through Facebook or through SMS, if they have the paid tag at all, they will meet the condition for this workflow. The customer replied paid ongoing combo. So what triggers this is that the customer replied and they do not have the tag kill switch, and they do have the tag paid. So if these two conditions are met and they did reply, then we're going to remove from all the wait workflows, and I'll show what that looks like in just a second. And then we're going to just double check that they haven't requested to talk to the bot more than 10 times. So to keep up with that, we have a custom field that is a number type on the contact, and it's part of the snapshot. And after every webhook request to Capri, we are counting the number of times that we've had an inbound message from that contact. And if this goes above 10, then we're going to just add the kill switch tag and let a human take over. And again, this was when GPT-3 DaVinci was really the only one available. It was really expensive. Chat GPT is 90% cheaper, more accurate. It's just not really much of a concern anymore. But I wanted to make it part of the workflow in case you needed it. And if you want to add more conditions to when it should not go down this path, right? So let's say instead of this, I want to make sure that it's less than 10 and the contact tags does not include booked. That's a good one. So I just want to make sure if they're a booked appointment, I don't want them to go down the normal path, right? Because that doesn't make any sense. So I'm going to just save that. And then I'm going to have it go down the kill switch route if that is met. So if they already have the booked tag, which means they already have an appointment set, or they have talked to the bot more than 10 times, whatever, we're going to have it go to the kill switch functionality. And this is going to just disconnect it from the bot entirely. If they meet the conditions, so they have the paid tag and they don't have the kill switch tag and it's less than 10 responses, that's where you get into this workflow setting or this webhook step. So to keep things as simple as possible, I wanted to make this snapshot so that you could literally just plug it into your client accounts and you don't have to worry about anything. And the easiest way to do that is just by having everything listed with custom values and then allowing you to just modify it however you want. So because we have our prompt listed in our settings page, and again, the simplest way is just include everything on both sides. So if you don't want to keep up with what you have here and what you have there, just make it so that in your custom values page, which let me just go here. So in your custom values page, this is where you'll just fill everything in, right? So you'll fill all this information in here and it'll reference it here in the webhook step. Now, for order of preference, for basically which does it prefer, right? If I have it listed in two places, which one does it listen to? It will always, always, always use the webhook step data over the portal data because we assume that you want all of your clients to be able to have their own settings and their own key and all that kind of stuff. So if you have stuff set here at all, it will overwrite whatever you have saved here when the request comes in. So it will listen to what you have in the webhook step more like over what you have in the settings portal. You can not include anything that's not a required field. So anything that has a star next to it here, if you want to just have it in your portal and not have it in your webhook step, that's okay. You can do that for required fields. For optional fields, and optional fields is everything else that does not have a star on it, you must include it in the webhook data for it to be included in the request. So the most common thing we see is the knowledge base. People think, okay, I have the knowledge base saved here, so it should work when I do this. That's not the case. The knowledge base, this only impacts the emulator and allows the emulator to read your knowledge base. This is for your Go High Level account to read your spreadsheet whenever a message comes in through SMS, Facebook Messenger, IG Messenger, anything like that. So if it's not required, including task, knowledge, presence penalty, handoff, the other ones you can have are fallback and goal and delay. And I'll go over what these all mean here as well. But the most important thing to understand is in the preference side of things, if you're really concerned about it, always put everything in the webhook data here. Put it here and then have a custom value for it here. Everybody's life is easier. This is just for the emulator so you can test around and stuff. You don't have to worry about it. Now, of course, that's not required. If you want to do it the other way, you're totally okay. You can totally do that. So that's where a lot of people have kind of been struggling lately. Now, the other thing that people are struggling with is one, for the knowledge base, you do have to add this email account to the Google Sheet and give us permission to at least view it. You don't have to do edit. That's another issue that we've seen. And then the other one is if your sheet is more than 30 rows, if it's really, really long sheet, you need to have the extension. And to have the extension, you have to go to AppScripts. You have to put the code into here and everything. So yeah. So those are the biggest issues that we see with initial usage and adoption. The key is pretty straightforward, handoff. So the handoff prompt is what I was describing before, which is in my case, this is a list of all the conditions that need to be met before I want a team member to come in and take over this conversation. So contact has provided their email, they provided their phone number, and they've agreed to meet with a member of our team. So each of those conditions is listed by a semicolon because it's an and statement. So all of these must be met for this to happen. If you wanted one condition of many to be met, you can just say or. Just don't put a semicolon and just put or, right? So the contact has provided their email, or they want to meet with a member of our team, right? Like if you want to do that, then you can use an or, and you can combine them. So you can make a list of and conditions, and each one of them has an or within it. So it's like the contact has provided their phone or email, and the contact has agreed to meet with a member of our team. You would just say or in the first one, put a semicolon, and then put the second one. So that's what this is. Now, a very important thing to know here about this is that if you include this in your webhook here, if you include this in the webhook step, our system is going to ask your AI, hey, should we hand it off? Right? That's all we're doing. No big secrets here. All we're doing is saying, hey, this is their handoff prompt. Based on the conversation so far, are these conditions met? At all. If this handoff is included in the webhook step when the request comes through, that's going to happen. If the answer is yes, our system is going to add the handoff tag and then not say anything else. And that's just how it works. We don't have any option, to do silent or respond like we do with fallback. With handoff, we are assuming that you don't want the AI to say anything else at that point, and you want the human to come in and take over. So that means if the handoff happens and then they send another message, it doesn't matter if the AI does know the answer to that question. It's not going to respond because the handoff conditions have been met. So even if it was earlier in the conversation, it doesn't matter. It's not going to continue. If you want to make it so that, after the handoff is added, the handoff tag is added, you want to continue allow the conversation to happen, you would add a split right here. You say something like if this, and then contact details, and we'll say tags does not include handoff. We'll save that. And so we create that branch and it'll just go down as it normally does. But on the other side of it, if we want to make it so that if they do, this means they do have the handoff tag. That's what this branch means. What I want to do is I literally just want to take this sucker, copy that action, copy it there, come here, and get rid of the handoff prompt. So now it'll be the same prompt, same conversation data, same everything. It's just not going to do that handoff check, right? And that's all you really have to do. So we'll save that. And then from there, you can also add a go-to, right? And this is why I like high level. They may not be perfect, but they got a lot of cool stuff. So you can add that go-to, and then that go-to will just go poop right there where it would have normally gone anyway. And you can add as many of these conditions here if you want, right? So like you can add a condition here, like, is the handoff tag added? Yes. Okay. Well, let's go down this path. Does it have the book tag? Yes. Okay. Well, then we want to change the prompt, right? You can change this to be a different prompt if you want. Let's say like already booked prompt. So then this can be its own prompt, and you can have different settings in here for the temperature and you can have a different handoff prompt. Let's say you want to change your handoff prompt. You can have different fallback settings. Everywhere you use this webhook step, you can change it to be whatever you want. Nothing depends on anything except what's in the actual webhook step itself. So I hope that makes sense to you guys. So that is the reply part of it. And this is, again, if they have the paid tag and they don't have the kill switch tag and they reply through any channel, it's going to put them into this workflow. And this workflow is going to determine if they have less than 10 requests and which webhook step to go down, all that good stuff. Now, I also assume that if you're running paid ads, you want to follow up with the leads as much as physically possible, right? Like you don't want to just answer their question and then just let them ghost. You want to continue to send them messages. And so that's what the rest of this workflow is focused on doing. So from here, we're going to add them to another workflow depending on which channel they're in. And the way it determines which channel they're in is it determines what tags they have. And so you notice with our initial opt-in campaign that we start, or workflow that we started with, we added the paid tag, but we also added the SMS tag. And that was so that here later on, when we want to continue following up with them, we know which channel we need to follow up through. And so this SMS tag condition gets met and it adds them to the wait for reply workflow. And if we go back to what that workflow is, so we'll go to SMS under the folder, and then we'll go to wait for customer reply, paid SMS. So this is the workflow that it's getting added to after it has replied. And basically what this is it's just going to wait for 15 minutes, and then it's going to check a condition. And this condition says the tag does not include the fallback reach tag, and it doesn't include the handoff tag, and it doesn't have the kill switch tag. And you can just keep adding conditions here, right? Like, and they don't have the booked tag, and they don't have D&D set, and this, that, or the other. Put as many conditions as you want. But if all those conditions are met, then the action that we're taking is the same endpoint. So it's this Capri AI / GPT-3, same key, except the prompt is different and the task is different. So in my prompt here, what I have is contact at first name hasn't replied to your most recent message, and you want to make sure they're able to get any questions they have answered, as well as make sure that if they're looking to connect with one of our team members, they are able to do so. You can make jokes and use emojis in your outreach message, and it will to help increase the chances of getting a reply, as long as they are appropriate and relevant to the conversation so far. And this is a very small, very basic prompt. You can continue to add to this of like, you know, one of your favorite jokes is this, like, you know, and you can give it a list of jokes for it to choose from, like the same way that you would with like spin tax and stuff like that. Like you can just give it and more instructions, but the goal here is that the task is different. It's outreach. And so in this way, we're going to basically convince the model, prompt the model to create an outreach message rather than a response to an inbound message. They're going to say, you know, hey, contact first name, just wanted to make sure if you had any questions, I could get them answered. I know you mentioned yada, 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 and it will have access to the conversation history at this point too. So it will know everything that's been said. And so it will be able to kind of reference whatever they've said in the past. Model type, keep that Chat GPT. For the temperature, we have it set a lot higher because this is a more creative task. And honestly, I have seen some people change this to DaVinci. I think it's a little bit more repetitive with DaVinci, but with Chat GPT, it's more chat focused. So, I mean, I don't know, just play around with it. I don't do a lot of paid ads myself. Most of my traffic is organic. So I don't do a lot of ongoing outreach like this because I don't work with local services. I do everything just B2B. So it's a little bit different than what most people using this are for, because it's, you know, high volume kind of stuff. But nonetheless, this is how you can use that. And then if you want to change this task to be more custom, you can actually change it to be custom. And you can make this prompt very descriptive. And we've had people do that as well, to make like a super intricate, really descriptive, you know, prompt that gives a lot more data. And because you have the task set to custom, it's less guided on our side, because we do have guide rails that we put in place on our side for the reply task and for the outreach task, because we didn't want it being crazy out of the box. But, you know, once you get more comfortable with it and you want it to be more customized, you can set the task to custom, and you can have the prompt, be more intricate. But biggest thing is for the outreach, make sure that you have the channel set to whatever channel it is that you're actually running ads for and stuff. And then the max length should be about the same. I know it's a little shorter here, but it should be about the same. And so that's the outreach task. And a lot of people seem to forget that this exists, and don't seem to understand why the AI continues to send messages to the contact, even though the conversation is over. And this is why it doesn't know that the conversation should technically be over. It's just given a task of reaching out to this person. And so that's why if you are having just ongoing messages go out, that's probably what it is. And so you can adjust the 15-minute time, or you can draft this all together on both SMS and Facebook. It's totally up to you. But we wanted to make sure that you had that as an opportunity, like in case you wanted to do that. So that's most of like the base level. And I only have about 9 minutes left, so I think I'll open it up for questions here in just a minute. The only thing I didn't really cover today was in detail was the booking side of things. And the biggest thing to know is that for booking, the only thing you got to change is in here, you got to add the goal to be booking. And if you add this and you have a calendar attached, we will actually read the calendar and slots on the calendar when it's appropriate. So like if the contact asks for some availability tomorrow, or if they ask for, they ask for times that are available next week or something like that, our system will see that as an opportunity to check the calendar. And then we will actually read the calendar during the time frame that they said, and then inject that into the prompt as part of what the AI can return in its response, so that it knows what is available. The only thing it won't actually do is right now we don't have it actually putting it into the calendar. We have the ability to do that, but it's been overzealous, I guess we'll say. It's been overly excited. It tries to book when it shouldn't, tries to take things further than it needs to, and it books more appointments than we want it to. So we're trying to dial that back a little bit. I mean, I'm glad it's doing that rather than not booking at all. Like that's easier to dial back, but it's just a lot of prompting, and it's a lot of fine tuning and touching and stuff on our side to make it reliable for you guys. And so that's why we haven't fully released it yet. What we're recommending basically is just if your goal is set to booking, and your handoff prompt should just be they've established the day that works best for them. They've established the time that works best for them. And that will allow the AI to do its thing, handle the conversation with the available times. And then when the contact is actually agreed to a time and day, then you add the handoff tag. The AI doesn't respond. It just brings in a human. They book the appointment, everything. And then once they have like the booked tag or whatever, then you can leave them in the automation all you want, but just change the handoff prompt like I showed earlier to just not be, like the handoff prompt in that case would be they requested to reschedule or they requested to cancel their appointment. And that way, you bring a human in whenever it's time to cancel or reschedule the appointment. And then as we go, we'll introduce more automation to it. We'll make it so it does it on its own, but we want it to be accurate for sure. And if you want to use more than one calendar, you can. All you got to do is put calendar right here. And then you would need to put the calendar ID that you want. And so when I say more than one calendar, what I mean is you can only select one per location in these settings here from the dropdown. But if you have more calendars based off of the condition, the workflow that they're in, whatever, you can put calendar as an option. And then if you go, which this one doesn't have any calendars, I'll have to go to like this one. If you go here to your settings and you go to calendars, click on the little 3 dots and click on copy permanent link, and then go to a new tab, open that up, and then the ID that it gives you right here. This is your calendar ID in case you ever need it for anything else too. You would take that and you would put that here in the calendar step, save that. And this will make it so that we read times from that calendar instead of instead of the default calendar that you have set. But if you don't put this and you do set the goal to booking, we'll just use whatever calendar you have selected from here. And then, yeah, I mean, other than that, it's just the only, I told you guys about this earlier, but you can have this either be silent, or if you set that to respond, whenever the AI does have a fallback where it's not able to know what exactly it should have said, if you have this set to respond, it'll actually still send this message too. So that's what that setting is for. And I think I didn't talk about the delay today because it's a little too much. I don't think you guys most people don't need it. I think that's it. I think I got through it in a little less than an hour. So I know it's a lot. It can definitely be a bit of a fire hydrant to the face. And yeah, so I guess we'll start here with, looks like Aaron first. What's up?
Hey man, appreciate the call. Yeah, definitely definitely worthwhile, definitely needed. So yeah, I've got a few questions. So the first one is inside I think I already know the answer to this, but inside the actual knowledge base and inside the prompt, if I it's more the knowledge base. If I put a custom value inside the knowledge base, right? So for example, if I want to put a question, what's your gym's name, right? And I want to put custom value gym name inside the knowledge base, will the ChatGPT be able to know that that's a custom value and then read that custom value before it actually writes it and then interact with it? Or would it just put the custom value instantly and then it's up to me to put in the custom values what the gym name is? Does that make sense?
Yeah. So in the spreadsheet, you can reference custom values. So you can use the normal syntax of, squiggly brackets on either side, custom values dot value name in the spreadsheet. And then because we're using high level to send all of the messages, it'll convert that as long as you have a value in Go High Level stored for that custom value.
Okay. So just to clarify, so let's say as one of the answers to the custom values, rather than like a gym name, I put, for example, something like reply if someone asks about price, and that's the custom value, right? It's called a price custom value. Let's call it that, right? And in the Go High Level custom value field, I wrote, I can't tell you the price right now because blah, 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 right? When that gets pushed into Go High Level, it's going to say that exact thing I put in custom,
right.
In the custom
so
value,
let's,
right?
Yeah, so here, let me show you.
ChatGPT won't be able to read that and then reword it to make it sound better, will it?
No. So it'll just say exactly that syntax.
Yeah,
so and just to kind of show everybody else what he's talking about, in our spreadsheet, in this thing here, you can actually click on find an example here. And if you go there, it'll take you to the template sheet that we have. But what he's asking is, like, if somebody were to say, how much is it? You could have the answer be custom values cost answer.
exactly.
And yeah, and so we have people doing this for like location, hours, website, anything else that's going to change dynamically. And then, yeah, you can use this one spreadsheet. Although I would say be careful with using one spreadsheet across too many sub accounts, because we're using the Sheets API, and you'll hit a rate limit. So the worst case scenario is you just duplicate this for every client and then just give them their own spreadsheet URL that they would put either here or in the webhook data, or both.
Yeah, that makes sense. All right, cool. I know you've already spoken about prompt structure. So I know we spoke about this briefly over Messenger. What we want to do is have them ask like 3 or 4 questions, lead the conversation, get the answers, and then put them in for an appointment, right? We don't want to just go straight. We don't want to just be like a Q&A kind of thing. So what I've done is I've literally inside my prompt, like I can quickly share my screen if you want to see it. It goes a bit crazy. I can't. It's disabled, but it's okay. It goes a bit crazy. I've kind of like stated what questions I wanted to ask, and I'm giving them rules around the questions. The problem is that sometimes it's, I don't know. Have you got any like recommendations on how to do that, on how to make it ask questions and follow us?
Yeah. So remember, I talked about at the beginning of the prompt design. This is who you are. This is what you do, or this is who that company is, and this is what you do for that company. And that part of the story is where you'll describe what the goal is, right? So if you say your ultimate goal is to book an appointment for the contact, However, you need to verify additional information before you book the appointment. The additional information you need to verify in order is, and then you list out,
Okay.
comma separated, basically it's a story. You're literally got to tell the story to the AI of what it should be asking and in
Okay,
what
cool.
order, and it will read it as that.
I love that. Okay, tell a story. That's very simple. I'll do that one. Okay, cool. That's fine. Already discussed
And
that.
then
Okay,
we
cool.
have quite a few questions to get through. So
Yeah, I've just
if
got
you get
final one is tag prompts.
what?
So obviously I know we can do the handoff. Is there a
Uh-huh.
way in Dialogflow I was able to do a thing like the little plus signs and put like notify?
Yeah,
Can you do anything like that here?
not yet, but we are getting there. It will basically come where you put the tag name in the custom data and then give us the prompt of when we should add that tag. And if the condition is met, we'll add that tag.
Okay, but for
Right
now,
now, we just only have the predefined ones. So like fallback and handoff. And then actually, I didn't talk about disqualify, but you guys can do the same thing with disqualify, by the way. It is live right now. If you write the word disqualify in the custom data field, and then you put the conditions of when a contact is considered disqualified, such as the contact does not own a business, or they don't own a home, or they say they live in an apartment or something like that, you can put those conditions and then it'll add the disqualify tag and it just won't say anything the same way that it does the handoff prompt. So forgot to put that out there as well.
awesome. Appreciate the time, man. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so who was next, Seth?
Next was J2, and he asked, what is the limit to what you can train this on? As in, ChatGPT 4 has a very low maximum per prompt. So he was saying, let's say I wanted to train it on a whole website and download all HTML pages to make a new one for the client. If that makes sense.
So the only trying to make sure I understand. You're talking about like so for let's just talk about overall limits. So the highest model that we can use is GPT 3.5 Turbo. So we're not at GPT-4 yet because it's not in general availability. It's still in private preview. So we allow up to 3.5, which you just put Chat GPT, and we just use the latest stable version of 3.5 Turbo. So that's how we're kind of handling that. Its limit is 4096 tokens, so 4096 tokens. Seth, if you could link the tokenizer tool that we normally use, if you can go find that on Google and then just link it here in
Sure.
the chat as well.
I
You
did that
guys
earlier.
can.
I'll just go ahead and do that again.
Okay, cool. Oh, yeah. Okay. So the tokenizer tool is provided for free by OpenAI. You just put in your prompt and it'll tell you how many tokens you're at. The overall limit is 4096. We allot 700 for your spreadsheet if you use the extension. If you don't use the extension, we're putting your whole spreadsheet in there at once. And so it'll be up to like 500 to I've seen spreadsheets go up to 1200, 1500 tokens. So if you don't have the extension, your spreadsheet will take up most of your token limit. If you do have the extension, we limit it to the top 700 most relevant tokens. So that's the first one. And then the other one is the example spread or the example sessions. There's no limit to the number of sessions that you can save. We will only inject the top 1,000 tokens from your saved sessions. So right off the bat, you've got about 1,500 or 1,700 tokens. If you max out your usage on your spreadsheet and you max out your usage on your example, like example conversations that you've given it in the thing, the emulator. So that's the two kind of limits you got to consider. And then your initial prompt, which most people's prompt don't go over 500 tokens. I haven't seen anybody, I've seen maybe one person that has a little bit longer prompt than that, but your prompt can really be up to like 1,500 tokens. Because if you have 1,500 tokens there, and then we've got 1,700 tokens on our side, you've still got about 1,000 tokens that you can have the model predict and still be within that 4096 token limit. So that's how the overall API functionality works with us. You basically just need to have a prompt, your initial prompt on the front end be less than, let's just say 1,000 tokens to be safe. And then You need to, if you're going to have more than 30 rows in your spreadsheet, you need to have the extension, and then there's no limit on the number of emulator sessions you can save. And we will have the ability soon for you to import all of your emulator sessions into another sub account. Because I know, Aaron, you were asking about that the other day. We prioritize that, and we hope to have that released before the end of next week, which will be super cool. So I'm excited about that. Okay. So did that answer your question, Jay?
He also asked if it's. I'm sorry, go on.
Yeah, so I'm just on the subway right now, but yeah, my follow-up question was indeed, what about using 5 different keys to distribute the workload?
5 different keys?
Yeah, because you link your ChatGPT account to this, so we'll be using yours.
No. So you can put whatever API key you want in both the settings portal for any Go High Level account that you log in, like with our app. You can put your API key there, and then you can put it in a workflow. So, I mean, we'll always use what's in the workflow over what's in the portal settings. And so if you want to have like 5 different webhook steps that each use a different API key, it doesn't really matter. We're always going to maintain the conversation memory. So you don't have to worry about losing memory or anything like that. So yeah, you can do that if you want. If you want, I mean, we just have to have a key in the request. So it doesn't really matter. Cool. Steven next, I think. Seth?
1 second. Let me see who was next on here.
I think
Yes. On God asked what type of ads people should run other than Facebook lead ads, if they have any advice for anything like that.
So what type of ads people run? Everything, bro. I mean, I've seen people running Facebook form leads, seen Facebook Messenger, Instagram Messenger, seen a restaurant doing it for Google My Business, which was probably one of my favorites, is having the ability for a restaurant to have instant access to an AI. That's pretty cool. Yeah, so I don't know. I'm not an advertiser. I should probably make that apparent to everybody. I'm actually needing help with my own ads right now for DAS. I had to hop on a call this morning and get help. So, yeah, I would not be the best resource for that, but I can definitely give you lots of advice for after the lead has been generated, and how to do that.
Okay, next question. Let me see here. Is there any way to change or customize the webhook URL so that clients don't see the Capri URL? Same thing for the knowledge base spreadsheet for how we need access to that.
So I can't white label the login portal to not have Capri AI. And I also can't white label the OAuth login right now with Go High Level. So like the Go High Level marketplace or whatever, marketplace.gohighlevel.com is always going to have Go High Level. And so I can't white label that right now. White labeling the webhook URL. I'll put it on the list of how we might go about doing that. Haven't had a request from many people for that. Sorry if you guys hear sirens. It's a fire truck going by. But yeah, good question.
And to specify though, Quentin, this whole thing, including the Q&A session, this will be posted on YouTube, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Post the whole thing. Cool. And then Kevin, I see you have your question up, but you're in the car, so be safe.
Let's see. Lee was asking
Hold on. Kevin has his hand up. Give 1 second.
Okay, gotcha.
What's up, Kevin?
Hey, thanks, guys. No, I'm not driving. I'm just in the drive-through. Yeah, so I jumped in late. So if this has been asked, I'll just refer me to the recording and I'll watch it. But so I've been, I'm a Go High Level SaaS Pro, and I'm just building out kind of all the features I want to include. And
oh, the suspense is killing me.
think he may have lost signal there.
Yeah. Kevin, you'll have to connect with us on Facebook. Would you mind putting the Capri AI support Facebook page? Do you have access to that, Seth?
Yeah, 1 second.
Yeah. Kevin, you might have to just connect with us later, buddy. It seems like your internet's a little unstable right now.
Do you hear me better now? Or no?
Yeah, a little bit. You just gotta keep going in and out a little bit.
All right. Well, I'll shoot you a question on Facebook, I guess.
Okay. Yeah, sorry about that. And we're over. So let me answer Lee, and then we've gotta close it down for this week. But we'll do this every week. Do this 12 p.m. Eastern every week. So if you didn't get your question answered today, you can always make sure to come back. So Lee, what's up? What was Lee's question?
My question was just about.
Yeah, go ahead, Lee.
What's your enterprise plan?
It's $297 a month, unlimited sub accounts.
Okay.
Yeah. This is our top plan. And soon we'll have all kinds of stuff. We'll have the ability for you to iframe the emulator to a custom menu item. That's coming soon. So that way your clients can train their own bot if you want them to. Rebilling, auto rebilling for usage, so you can make a profit off of them. That's coming as well. That's like probably end of Q2. WhatsApp support. WhatsApp support is coming very soon.
Actually, can I do a tap to pay? Can I do tap to pay? You already did it? All right, never mind. You good, don't worry. It's okay. It's okay.
How do we upgrade to plan from free trial so we get the snapshot extender for free? So all you got to do is just go to the little billing tab. So after you're logged into systems.capriai.us, you just go down here to this little billing tab right here. Click on that. Or sorry, that's knowledge. Click on the billing tab. Mine says admin, but yours will say trial and how many days you have left. And then click update plan, and then click on whichever one you want to connect to. Single, 10, or unlimited. And then just click upgrade, which I'm an admin. So yeah, so that's how you do that. Cool. On God says, do I have any tips on the types of ads? I don't. I'm sorry. I don't have any insight on that specifically.
Real quick, Will did have a question.
Yeah.
He was asking if he used or can you read it actually? It's I don't know if you see it.
Yeah. So I think for this use case, if I use a group calendar comprised for different age groups. Yeah. So I mean, like I said, we can only have one calendar ID per webhook step. So that's where you would make the distinction of which calendar you want it to use. In terms of knowing based off of like what the conversation is so far, we don't have really any way to do that other than using the handoff functionality. So you could kind of use a chain of handoff prompts to basically say, the first handoff prompt is that no, that wouldn't really work because you won't know which one is which. So yeah, you'll kind of have to know which age group, at least right now, you'll have to know which age group they're in before sending the webhook step. You'll have to have a system that makes it so that if they come in through a certain offer, if they use a certain keyword, anything like that, it will know, it'll tag them, and then that tag will allow you to later on use the proper calendar ID. So it's like, if you wanted to have one workflow where they opt in and they don't have any age group assigned to them just yet, you could, no, yeah, sorry, you'll have to know. You'll have to know which way you have to know which calendar you want to use first.
And there's no way that like the AI itself through the conversations in determining their age, like, with Go High Level, you can typically do like, you can do like reply message contains, and then you can have all your keywords for like 4 to 7, 8 to 12, whatever.
Yeah.
And keep everything branch off. But like if you're using the AI, you can't really branch off the conversations based
right.
what's happening, right? There's just, am I correct in that?
Yes. So the way that this will work for you, it's going to be one of the very next features that comes out. It's what we were talking about earlier with custom tags, where you will be able to essentially establish a few set of tags, like let's say you got age groups of like 6 to 12, 12 to 16, and then 16 and up. If those are your 3 age groups, you'll have one tag called, the first age group I said, I can't remember, but you'll have a prompt that says the contact has established that the student is between this age and this age. And then the other one will be the contact has established that and so it'll be that for all 3 of those. And then once that condition is met, once that prompt condition is met, our system will add that tag. And then you can basically have a system that says if they have this tag and they reply, it's like the first webhook will be like, they reply, they don't have an age group tag. You have all those different tags with the different prompts. And then you don't have the goal set to booking and you don't have any calendar in the first one at all. And the AI is basically using that set of data to first determine what the age group is. And then once it determines what the age group is based off of the prompt, it'll add that tag. The next time they reply, the condition in your workflow won't be met because they will have an age group tag on there. And so then the next step in the workflow, like the other side of the conditional essentially, will be if they have the tag for age group 1, then the webhook data is identical except the calendar is this calendar ID. If it's not age group 1, if it's age group 2, it'll be the same thing, but you'll just change out the calendar ID for each one.
That sounds good. What is that going to be this year?
Is that what?
Is that going to be this year that you've
this year? Yeah, I mean, I'm hoping this month.
Okay, cool.
That one's not too hard to do. That one we're going to be excited about doing. The other one that people want us to do is the ability to update the custom fields. And that's a little bit harder because if it's a number, if it's a list, if it's, an object, whatever, it's a little bit harder. But with the tags like that, it's going to be a lot easier for like, hey, you just tell us when we should add this tag and we're going to add that tag.
Cool. All right. Thank you.
Cool. All right. I'm going to have to let that be the last one because we're about 18 minutes over. So thanks you guys for joining. If you thought this was good, I would really appreciate, a shout out on Facebook. Just tag me either in the group or whatever. And yeah, look forward to seeing you guys next week, maybe, or maybe you don't need it. Who knows?